Welcome back to the Nullified Take channel here on YouTube, where we've got the TNT takes for you on Survivor 43, Episode 6. That's right, I'm your host, Chris, and I'm back here today with Jake. We're reunited. Jake, how are you feeling this week?
I'm feeling a lot better. I know that my absence last week was felt by everybody, that they were
Yeah.
devastated, but don't worry, I'm back. So everyone can,
I feel like, Jake, you've been on
yeah.
fire this season. I feel like you've had some good takes, and we've
Yeah,
had some, like, we've been on the same wavelength on a lot of things, but you've
we
also
have.
had a few different takes to mine, which I always find interesting because it makes me think about things like, did I miss something? But you're back now. I'm glad to see that you're up and about
Yeah,
and feeling better compared to last week. And thanks to Michael for jumping in last week and
yes.
in very short notice, jumping in your absence and being a part of the recap that we did. But I thought this was a great episode to get back on, Jake, because dare I say, this may be the most fun I've had watching Survivor in years, especially for the US franchise. I think this is becoming one of the better seasons, and this was probably from the new era. I will say this was my favorite episode of the new era of Survivor. I really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, I don't think that I will go that far. I mean, just off the top of my head, like as I was watching it, like I was just like, enjoying it, but I don't think
Mm.
I really thought about it that it was, you know, that great, but I really liked it, and I'm really glad you liked it. Um,
Yeah, the only episode that
yeah,
came close to this for me, and maybe, people are saying 42 had good episodes, and that it did. Definitely
it
42
did.
had good
Yeah,
episodes. I think the highlight of 42 was when Marianne took out Omar, who was running it for so long. And that episode was also up there as one of the best for me. But I like it when there's more players and when things can go in different directions. And it was all up in the air. Like, I mean, I came into this season thinking, Ellie, I can see the weaknesses in her game. I can see how she potentially will get voted out. But in a million years, if you asked me who was going to be the merge boot, I didn't think it was going to fall on Ellie. And that's why I
mhm.
like this episode so much, because it really felt like everything was up in the air for this whole mergatory or murgatory
Yeah,
episode that we watched.
yeah. I loved that. I had suspicions about this episode because, like, whoa, they're going back to the 13 people all, voting together. I know, like, technically it wasn't the merge, but the 20-person seasons in the past, like David versus Goliath, they would merge at 13, and it just felt like too many people.
Mm,
But I felt like this episode uh, did a really good job of that. In fact, I think only Dwight didn't have a confessional,
yeah.
and it was just very even. Like, I felt like I kind of know where everyone's head's at right now, and I just think there's so much room for chaos, and I love that. Like, I have no idea what's going to happen next week. I'm I'm very invested right now of, like, who's going to
Yeah.
win, who's even going
Same.
home next week.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's open.
who's going to be
I think.
like who's going to be the duo that, like, lasts on. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
I
good.
mean, I had it in my head for the longest period of time. Coco's going to lose someone at the merge. I was like, Baka and Vessi is going to work together. The edit
Yeah,
misled me, but it misled me for a reason, because it explained very well why Ellie wanted to work with Vessi so much, or coming into this, the Red Tribe coming into this merge, because she thought they had some mutual enemies in Coco. And again, she had a lot of assumptions. She was very confident. I know we're jumping way ahead, but this is how we
yeah.
like to do it. We like to talk about everything on this podcast and make it feel natural and organic. So I do want to ask you, do you want to see Ellie back on Survivor? Because I personally want to see Ellie back. I feel like she's got a lot of potential to be a great player. And I think a theme such as the one we saw in Survivor South Africa, with a pre-merger season versus a merger season, she's now a lock for me as somebody that I want to see come back, because I just think she got outplayed by a better player in Sammy. But I think that
And Gabler.
and Gabler, but I don't know if Gabler was a better player. We'll get into that. But I think that she's going to look at this season and she's going to take a lot from it. And if she could come back and rectify a little bit of her overconfidence that she had and thinking the game was too easy, I think she could be a very lethal player in a
Mhm.
second attempt if she got that opportunity.
I Chris, there's so many people that I'd love to see back on the show, but Ellie is definitely one that sticks out to me because not only does she have potential, to just, she just tweaks. It's funny we're talking about Sammy, but in the preseason being way too overconfident, but he's the one that stayed completely cool. But with Ellie, if she could just, tone it down and just have a bit more self-awareness, I totally agree that she could, make some noise in a later season. And I would love to see it in the context of like a pre-merge versus merge boot, similar to Return of the Outcasts. And I also, not only her potential as a player, but I really like her confessionals. I think
she's so entertaining to watch.
She's a really good confessionalist. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny because again, it brings up that whole argument where we had this argument a few weeks ago on the podcast about, why is it that a lot of women on the show, is it just misogyny? Is it just, well, we're not going to give women an opportunity to talk? I kind of lean towards no. In general, a lot of women play the game a lot more with a backseat in mind, and they're probably not as charismatic. I'm not saying all of them, but it happens. And I think a character like Ellie comes on board. Like, she went out at the merge. She easily, if she didn't have the personality that she had, she could have been a non-entity this season, but her personality shone through and they gave us more confessionals from her. And she's got a way of articulating what she's thinking in a way that it is entertaining, and you want to listen and you want to know, what is Ellie thinking? I mean, certain things that Ellie read, like for instance, coming into this mergatory episode where they get together on this one beach, somehow Baka was decided to be the island that everybody was going to end up on. Yeah. How we got there, no one knows. But when they got there and they had these little conversations with each other, she has the makings of a great player because she gets that bit of information about Cody and the Pom from had and the fact that he's got all the beads, and she doesn't disclose that to anybody. She doesn't blow Cody's cover like some amateur players maybe would do. She keeps that information so she can go and talk to Janine about it and say, hey, we now even more so need to be with Vessi, because at least with them, we know which one of the players have got the idol. We don't know in Coco who's got it. So she's got great instincts for the game. She's great at confessionals. I feel like we lost the queen, to be honest with you. I really feel like we lost one of the, like, I'm sad to see her go, but it was exciting to watch.
Online Survivor has had a theme of standing random pre-merge women that don't show like that much.
It doesn't even make sense. It's just she's a woman that shot for them.
Then I see Ellie, and I don't see very much support for her of like queen. Why? And I'm like, if anyone, like her, like I really liked her.
Yeah, I mean, she deserves it. She was a character.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she wasn't even in my team, and I'm like
the
Ellie number one stan.
Yeah.
Like, I'm standing over her. Yeah. Like, I had so much fun seeing her play this season, and I would love to see her come back. And at least Jay, who's in the live, he agrees. He said, yes, please, # bring back Ellie, and he really liked her as well. And he's saying, imagine a rival season with Ellie and Gabler.
Oh my gosh.
We were talking about that. Like, we're going to have to, with everything that's happening this season, I feel like, that Sean versus Ricard, Ali versus Gabler, like before we know it, we're going to be able to do a cast fantasy draft assessment at the end of the season, Jake, and we should be able to fill it pretty quickly.
This new era has given us a few good rivals, and who knows, maybe we'll even get another one from this season, but so far we already have Ellie versus Gabler. Yeah. Oh my gosh. We need to talk about Gabler. We need to talk about
it. We're going to get into it, but
we'll get it. Yeah.
Let's get to the beginning of the episode. We start off on this beach. Coco gets the information. They're going to go and meet together. Carla, who's the other one for me, the other woman contestant this season who is absolutely killing it. She's entertaining. She's fun to watch. I feel like she's my number one girl in the game. She's been my number one girl for a while, but now with Ellie out of the way, she's undisputedly probably the number one girl in regards to bringing entertainment value, in regards to bringing some strategy to the game. Someone that I want to see go far in the game. She's the only one who's skeptical and says in the Coco tribe, we know how Survivor works. Let's not celebrate yet because we don't know if we've actually merged. And that does end up becoming true when they go to the beach at Baka and everybody gets together. What did you think of this limbo status that players were in? They're all there, that don't have the buffs, and they just get to socialize without Jeff being there, without a merge feast being there. What was your thoughts on this? We've seen elements of this in the past where there isn't a full merge, but I thought it was pretty refreshing in some ways. I kind of still enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think it was interesting to see them self-aware of like, we're not there yet. Of like,
Yeah.
what is this? Like, Hourglass coming back. Like, they didn't explicitly mention it, but it had to have been on their minds. Um, yeah, absolutely. And just like, there was already strategy going on of like you mentioned Ellie, noticing the comment from Noelle about Cody's a bead hat, and like, there was already stuff happening, and just it was
What about
very
Owen?
interesting.
What about Owen and his confessional talking about who's got what advantages? And they're like, I
He's
don't know. I wish I had that little thing in the bottom to tell me. And it
he's
says Owen, no
yeah.
advantage. The producers had a
Yeah,
field day
yeah,
with him.
yeah. He's speaking for all of us when he says like it's hurting my head of like
Yeah.
how many how many advantages there are out there of like for me and you, I think we can pretty easily like keep track of it because we do this every week, but um
And we've
the
got the
average
spreadsheet.
viewer, we've got the
We got the
spreadsheet, of
spreadsheet.
course.
Yeah, easy. He
But
doesn't have a spreadsheet out on the island.
that's all he needs. He just needs access to Excel, and then he'd be fine.
Exactly.
My dad watches with me every week, and like he doesn't remember. He might remember like I honestly he probably doesn't remember like
I forgot
exactly
Noelle
who
at
has
the.
it.
I had forgot Noelle at the Steeler vote when they did that. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, that's right. She's got the Steeler vote. So I'm glad that
yeah.
Owen helped us out a little bit there, even for us
I'm not
that
perfect
keep a
either.
track
Yeah,
of it. Yeah, like
I'm
it's
not
hard.
perfect either. I'm not saying that like I'm such a fan that I can keep track of it. My dad, he's not as big a fan, but like I feel like my dad represents like most of the fandom of like they don't
Yeah,
keep track of that. So I liked it because yeah, Owen is kind of speaking for us, but then also it does the job of reminding the viewers who has what. And if I also forgot that Noel had that because like it's just random. It was just random, and so it was good to see that again. Reminder.
yeah, it was great to see it. It's great to see Owen thinking about who's got what advantages and how he now needs to navigate. He does point out they've got no idea who in the Coco tribe has the idol for the Coco tribe. And we both know it's Carla. And this is why I love Carla, because Carla, you're playing the strategy that I would want to play if I was out on the island. I would not tell a single soul that I've
Yep.
got the idol. And this is the very reason why. So, newbies to Survivor, new players who want to go and play this game, get your notepads out, go to Carla's university and start taking notes because she is teaching people how to play this game, Jake, that we've been
Yep.
telling so long for so many times that you don't give information away freely. Now, there are certain situations I will admit that you sometimes have to use it as a tool of leverage. She has not been in that situation where she needed to do that. And I feel like people are just so open with information and just giving things away. I mean, another example of that in this episode, and I'm jumping slightly ahead, is when they had the merge feast and people were talking about, well, let's do this final 7 alliance here. Ryan, no one's going to go for it. And then you have in that very moment everybody telling each other who they're aligned with, and they're like, no, I want to protect these two, I want to protect those two. So I would have just been like, oh, okay, great, so those are your 2 allies. Okay, so there's no secrets. People are just giving everybody
Yep.
this information, where Carla, even in that situation twice now, she didn't give anybody the idol information, and she's not giving anybody information in regards to who she's aligned with. She stays quiet and just listens and takes notes. Well done, Carla. Take a bow.
I was excited to see this season that the idols didn't require them to say a phrase out loud and make it so obvious. It had to be the beads, which can seem suspicious, but like it could just seem like, yeah, I'm just making a bracelet. So, and I was just like, don't tell anyone, please, just don't. People don't tell. Cody, I'll give him a pass because it was such short notice that one vote he had to bring in Jesse and NECA, but Janine telling Ellie, and how did it get out to everyone? I don't even remember, but like people know. Don't let people know. Just don't
Gabler.
let people know.
That's how
Gabler.
it got out. Gabler's got loose lips, and he was in
Yeah.
that meal feast as well. But we'll get into that,
Yeah.
and we'll definitely, Jay, talk a little bit more about Ellie, because I can see you've got a different comment coming up here. Let's read that now to see if it's applicable. Going back to Ellie for a second, I think that her keeping Gabler in place of Mariah left a lot of people with a bad taste in their mouth, especially since a lot of people want a successful women's alliance. Okay, so that's why Ellie's receiving so much hate potentially, or not respect online from the other females, because people want to see a strong female alliance. I just want to see good gameplay, you know?
I was more upset about the Mariah vote, and we've already said this a couple times that like I just still don't get it. I just
I
still
just
don't.
I just don't think that there was any reason at that point in the
Just
game
got
to vote
unlucky.
anyone out. So it's like they were grasping for
Yeah.
straws. They're like, we like all these people, we want to stay with them, and they were just grasping at straws to get them out. But clearly Ellie made a mistake, because Mariah did want to do the female alliance, and she would have stayed loyal to Ellie at that stage in the game, and she would have had the numbers going deeper into the game. But it's that catch-22, like we've always said in the pre-merge section of the game. Do you go with power to try and win, like physical strength, or being able to win challenges, or do you go with allegiances? And different tribes have made different choices at different times, and it's sometimes blown up in their face, and sometimes it's worked out for them. In this case, it blew up in Ellie's face.
Yeah, I have more thoughts on, still have more thoughts on that first vote that I could talk about right now, but we're on this episode, so
yeah. I mean, it was an interesting decision by Jay here says, I think Ellie felt like she could control Gabler more, which that obviously blew up in her face, because Sammy is the one controlling Gabler for the most part. But this episode was very difficult to control him in any case. But again, back here at that's basically all that happened at the tribe before they go to the challenge. So they go to the challenge. Jeff lets them know tribal idols are no longer a thing in the game. They're now going to be fighting at the next section in the game, but he doesn't say it's individual immunity. He gives them the lowdown on what they're going to be doing. It's an obstacle course race where they have to collect sandbags, put puzzle pieces, crates like puzzle pieces onto a sled, carry it over, build a puzzle to climb up, and then they had to go up a very steep ramp, and at the end do like a puzzle that they had to put together, which was interesting to see. But before they actually go into this, they have to draw from rocks, and he explains that there'll be two teams. It's a blue team and a red team, and he says this time whoever wins will make the merge. The other team will not get there yet. They will have to earn their way to the merge, and they will be eligible to be voted out at the next tribal council. But he does say no one this time will lose their right to have the merge if they win. So he makes that clear to them from the start. So it does look like, Jeff says he doesn't listen to the fans. He doesn't listen to the tweets. It does look like he sometimes listens a little bit, even if it's like 10%.
The spirit of Danny McRae lives on. I don't know if it was specifically Danny, but I like that, they changed it. We don't know exactly if they would have kept specifically the hourglass, or, because people may have expected it, but who knows, because Jeff was planning to have both Island of the Idols and Edge of Extinction in the same season. So I don't trust him with some of these major twists. Thank you, Jeff, for just changing it, because it was not good.
Yeah, it wasn't something that anybody enjoyed seeing people
especially
win
the players.
in their way.
The players are supposed to be having fun, and they're not.
Yeah, exactly. So happy that he changed it, happy that he let them know from the start that it's out of the game, so that they didn't have that fear in them in regards to what's next. We have to think about a twist here. I'm glad that he made it clear to them. What's interesting to me, though, like I loved, were you a fan of the fact that they did this before the merge? Because you mentioned to me in the week that Jeff has somewhere said, he may have tweeted this or had an interview somewhere, I didn't see it myself, but you said that he's come out and said that Earn the Way to the Merge is here to stay. So it's something similar to the Fire Challenge that they brought in. Potentially they want to continue to do this moving forward in the game. Do you like this element, this additional element that allows you to graduate from the pre-merge section to the merge section in the game? Do you think that it's something that we should see? Were you a fan of this twist being in the game? Do you think it adds to the excitement, or do you feel like it's overkill?
So I think I may have misled you, because I didn't mean that it was here to stay as in
indefinitely.
Like indefinitely, as it was more as if like it's going to continue like for the next 2 seasons, the next cycle. I don't know if it's going in. I think it's in 44. I don't think it's confirmed if it's in 45 and beyond. but 44 has already been filmed, and I'm pretty sure it's in it too. But to answer your question, I I like that, it's something. You know, just having a straight up merge every season is it can get, repetitive and boring. So just have something, but I don't think it's like this crazy, like game changing, thing. I like that it's something different, and I think it is interesting when only some people are when, like, they have a bunch of people immune, but everyone is voting. I think that's it. I like that because it narrows the options, so there's a bit more scrambling, and that can be entertaining. So I like that
Yeah.
aspect. Yeah.
One slight adjustment that I would have made to this twist, I like it as well, because we don't get to see the swap in the new era because of the tribes being so much smaller, because there's 3 different tribes. I kind of, for the longest period of time, I was like, okay, swaps are just, it's swap screwing some of my favorite players. I'm not enjoying it. I don't
Yeah.
like seeing someone go out because it's not in their hands, but I do miss the scramble that a good swap brings into the game. And it also means that you have to be smarter about the way you vote people out and keeping them in the loop, because what if you need that person who's at the bottom when you get into a swap and they're in your tribe? So it's kind of removed that element from the game. So the one thing I may want to see in the future with this in the merge spot is that maybe when they split the 2 teams in 6, only the 6 people that lose are eligible to go home, and also only they are allowed to vote at that tribal council because they're at risk. So that would have been an interesting dynamic to see Cody suddenly in a tribe where he's like the person in the middle that could go either way with either the 2 Cocos or the 3 Baka to make up that number. Like, how would they strategize? How would they
Yeah.
scramble? Because we don't get to see the swap. This could be like, hey, here's like a little mini swap for you just to, satisfy the fact that we haven't seen it for a while.
I believe they have already done that in Survivor Fiji, and it was Michelle Yee, another one of those obscure pre-merge. Well, I guess it was the merge. I don't know. Females being stanned by the online community that needs to come back. Yet Ellie gets no love. But I think I'll disagree with you. I think that I like everyone voting. I think it makes for a bit more chaos.
Yeah. Well, they have to scramble to try and keep their alliance members safe. So it forces people to show who they are aligned
Yeah.
with, like we saw at this merge feast, right? It's, again, I go back to that whole merge feast with Gabler, openly when they're saying, okay, well, I'm going to protect X, Y, and Z. I'm going to protect X, Y, and Z. And Gabler comes out and he says, well, Ellie went through my bag on day 3, so I'm good to vote for her. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Gabler is a madman.
I know. I was like, because at first he just said, I want to keep Owen and Sammy. And I was like, Like, I was like, okay, Gabler, you're being a little cryptic, good on you for not just. And then 2 seconds later, yeah, well, Ellie went through my bag, so I don't trust her. Oh my gosh. Oh, the looks on people's faces were, and then Carla, her confessional was great about just talking about like, what? Like, what is happening? And I love it. I love it because, and this is why we can't be only casting super fan
Yeah.
who are like, I'm going to be the next Boston Rob, Russell Hantz, Kim Spradlin. Like, we need
The next
Gablers.
Rob Sister Nino, like play the game body strategy. You don't want that.
I want at least one Gabler on every season for the rest of time. Somebody, or Roxroy, someone like Roxroy, where
Gabler is the Philip Shepard of this season. We called it. I think we pretty much called it day 1. We're like, is he going to be like the Philip Shepard of the season? And I feel like he is. He's the character, but he's clearly not a great player. Like, I mean, do I love Gabler? No. Would I want Gabler to be on every single All-Stars moving forward? Yes. Bring him back. He's fun. But is he a great player? No. I don't think he's a great player. And he does it twice here because he brings this dirty laundry out in front of everybody. But then also when he has his confrontation with Ellie, which we'll get into, he goes to Janine and talks to Janine in front of Ryan and nearly I can't remember if he actually outed the fact that she had an idol in front of Ryan, but he was just like very open. She's like, well, I need to go talk to you somewhere else. And Ryan is just sitting there, like, I won't tell anyone.
And I love that it was Ryan that heard it, because Ryan is just, I don't know what Ryan's doing. Does anyone know what he's? I don't know.
Listen, this was
He's just
Ryan. This was Ryan. Ryan in the beginning of the episode. He's like, I'm so happy. Finally, I get to cut ties with this Coco people who've just betrayed
yeah,
me. They
yeah.
don't have my back. I've went from the top to the bottom. I'm gonna jump ship as soon as I get to the merge. He gets to the merge. He's like, this is a bunch of crazy people. I don't have a place to go. Now he's running back to the Coco tribe because he's like, I'd rather
Yeah.
deal with the crazy I know than the crazy I don't.
Yeah, I know. I was like, who was it? Jesse, Dwight, and Cody. He walked in on them, and they told him, it's actually Ellie that's throwing out Cassidy, and James. And when they told him, I was like, oh, like this is gonna lead into like a Ryan storyline of like, you know, will he or won't he? No,
Yeah,
just 2 seconds later, guys, you'll never believe what I just heard. I
yeah,
was just like,
yeah.
Ryan, what are you doing? Because I
No, I
really
think
like,
he's doing the right thing. I think
yeah,
Ryan like wanted to jump badly, but then you realize like Baka's a mess. Fessy is
yeah,
like tight. I probably should stay somewhere where I can. But he did make inroads with Fessy because he went to Fessy and he spoke to Dwight, Cody, and Jesse at the time when they were like giving the information about the fact that Coco members are being targeted. And they told him, let's vote for Ali. And he switched the vote to build loyalty at that point with those three guys. So I think that like Ryan clearly had a very bad episode, the previous episode, but I don't think, he did anything bad. Also, just while we're on the subject of Ryan, I completely went over this, but what an impressive display in that challenge when he went full
yeah,
Superman or Spider-Man, got
yeah,
his
yeah, yeah.
legs in and went upside down to help Carla up, man. What a beast he was in that challenge. And Carla
Yeah.
with her hand that was smashed.
No, that was awesome. That was the exact thing I was thinking. And then Jeff said it 1 second later of, he looked like Spider-Man. Yeah, it was super cool. And just knowing that like, Ryan, his whole story of like having cerebral palsy and like not even being um projected by doctors to be able to walk, and then he's doing, 20 something years later, he's doing that. Like I'd love to see the reaction of the doctors who told his mom back then to see that 20 something years later. And then Carla, correct me if I'm wrong. Did they go back to? I don't think they went back to her about her hand. Did she
They didn't.
ever follow up on it? Hmm.
No, they didn't. It just looked like she smashed it really bad in the challenge, and there was a lot of blood. And
Yeah,
I feel like there's some shows where, like even International Survivor, I feel like something like that happens. Survivor South Africa would be like, hold, get the medics in, stop the whole show. Like I feel like
yeah.
safety would
And
just
then they
take
don't
over.
even.
Jeff's
Yeah,
just like, this is Survivor, suck it up,
yeah,
keep moving, and she has to
yeah,
like continue to move with this, bloody hand while they're
yeah. I
out
didn't even
there.
think about that.
Yeah, I feel
I didn't
like
even think about that. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure. Like, I don't know about Australia. Australia is also pretty brutal, but I feel like South Africa. I love South Africa. It's probably been my favorite franchise in recent seasons. But I do know that in this case, they would have probably freaked out and been like, "That stop," because we had some pretty intense things happen in this last season, which I know you didn't watch for Return of the Outcasts, where
hmm,
they had to like stop challenges. I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong, but I just feel like this whole thing about tough it up, keep going with your hand.
yeah,
And Carla was having a bad time on that challenge. Like if she didn't have the likes of Orion helping her up there, I think she wasn't going to get up there. Like
yeah.
that was not her best moment. But also being Noelle, can you imagine being Noelle sitting on the side, like with Blue
Oh my
struggling
gosh.
so much, and you'd just be
Yeah,
nervous as hell that you picked the wrong team.
Chris, you know this about me that I someday want to be on the show. Sometimes I think like, how am I going to handle all the stress? Because like I get very worked up very easily, and like just I could just feel it in my bones. Like, oh, I'm so stressed right now, and like being Noelle and just like seeing Carla jump up and struggle to get up there, and Gabler too was struggling. I would have just been like dying. I just been like, I'm going home because I chose the wrong team, just conceding. Um,
Yeah,
and my dad was like, "Oh, oh, Carla, she blew it. She shouldn't have smashed her finger. She blew it for the blue team."
yeah.
And then yeah, miraculously not only made it up, but finished the
Seems
puzzle
okay.
first. And she
Yeah,
seems
she
okay
seems
too.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the puzzle was done by who was the two people from Blue who ended up smashing it out.
Janine and
I can't remember who those two people were. So Blue had
Dwight.
Janine. Dwight and Janine, yeah.
Yeah.
Dwight and Janine carried them on the puzzle against Ali and Owen. And really just came from nowhere behind. James was interesting because he had the puzzle early on. If you remember, James was the one saying, "This is the phrase," and then people were like, "Shh, don't."
And then
talk. And
Ellie,
yeah,
Ellie blew it. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Poor Ellie.
It's just crazy. Like,
yeah.
Who did you think when you saw these two tribes standing there and you saw the likes of Janine, Gabler, Ryan, Dwight, Jesse, and Carla going up against Cassidy, James, Sammy, Cody, Ali, and Owen? Who did you think was going to win it?
The red team.
Same. I was like red, and that's why I was so shocked when Noel chosen the blue team.
I was like, even. I was like, they have Gabler. That alone, like, brings them down like 5 pegs. Like, and then they had Cody on the other team. Like,
But Gabler did impress me on the physical stuff. He seemed to be like, for an older guy, he's actually in shape. Like, I mean, put some respect on the guy's name. He's not the greatest strategist in the game, but I mean, physically he kept up with them. And I think that's also why in the beginning of the season, they chose to keep Gabler for a little bit longer because he had that physicality about him.
Yeah, I guess Gabler is just so good that his manipulation is actually rubbing off on the viewers. I'm starting to think that he's trying to lower his threat level in the game, and it's actually rubbing off on me. I'm not even perceiving him
as a physical threat. Imagine Gabler ends up being the challenge beast of the season and he wins like 3 or 4 immunities. Like, it would be hilarious.
Who knows?
I want to go back to one of the comments here from Jay where he mentioned, for real, give me one of Roxroy, Brad, or Gabler every season.
Brad, oh my gosh, I forgot about him.
Yeah, we agree. We 100% agree.
Yeah.
Brad was fun. Brad, he went too early. Also here, Jay says, narrowing options are better because in a merge episode prior to this new era, everyone would gang up on one person who's out of a tribe, and it would be boring vote off like Elizabeth in David versus Goliath. Yeah.
It can happen sometimes, but then you can also get, Kagayan, where, it was differed by 1 vote. But, that was it was 11 people versus 13, which, did the 2 people really make that much of a difference? But personally, I just feel like 13 just is a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I like the way that they did it here this episode. It definitely looks like a lot when you're so used to seeing these small tribes of 6 and you suddenly go to 12.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it's like double the size. The tribal council, when everyone came in, I was like, wow, a lot.
Yeah. Even Jeff was like, wow, this is a lot of people, because he's not even used to having that many people in front of him anymore in a tribal council.
Yeah.
So obviously this happens. We see Blue win. They're all safe. We've spoken about the merge feast, but we haven't spoken about the team that ends up being in trouble. So the likes of Cassidy, James, Sammy, Cody, Ali, and Owen, they all go back to camp. Ali is besides herself, tears, feels really bad. She's let everybody down. They console her. It looked like Ellie was socially doing extremely well. Like, everybody liked her. She was getting in with everybody. But she starts doing a lot of plotting. And I think this is where she really ended up losing the plot at this stage in the game, is the fact that she wants to have all these fake plans in place. She wants to get close to Cody to let Cody know that he's going to be, firstly, the person they're going to throw the decoy plan on. Now, if you're a savvy survivor player, you don't want to be the decoy player. And you definitely don't. If somebody comes to you and they're like, hey, I'm willing for you to be the decoy, that should put a warning sign on you, and you should be like, well, why? Why don't you just split it on both Coco if you want to work with Vesey? But she wants to tell that to Cody, and she then wants to go to James and also Cassidy. And Cassidy, and this is probably another reason why I feel like a lot of people on Twitter, because they are pro strong female alliances on Twitter and the online community, will probably be against Ellie, as Cassidy, again, for the second time this season, offers a strong female type of working relationship here for Ellie, which she doesn't go with.
Yeah, Ellie is anti-woman, confirmed. No, yeah, it's I mean, we've had 2 women winners in a row. Like, I think people are less like kind of upset at like the disparities between women winners and male winners, because I think we had 6 men in a row. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
You know,
Yeah,
and it kind of seemed like kind of the meta of the game kind of just favored men, and like, you know, and especially in like Island of the Idols, there was the editors like, you know, propped up the females so much, and then, you know, Tommy, you know, the complete opposite, like, you know, very boring winner, you know, went on to win. So that's not really on my mind anymore, to be honest. Like I used to think about that, like during like Winners at War and Island of the Idols, of like, oh, maybe there's gonna be a female winner, you know, this season. Oh, that'd be cool, you know. And then Erica won. I was like, oh yeah, cool. Like, you know, new era. Like maybe it's like kind of smoothed out any disparities there were. Um, but you know, now I don't know. I don't really think about it that much, and it's
same. Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, it's interesting because like I think only Geo, only guy to be voted off, right?
Yeah, that's what Jay is saying here. He says people are complaining because 5 out of 6 women have been voted out this pre-merge.
Yeah,
And yeah, it is true. It is like for me, I felt sad to see Ellie go before the merge because I felt like she deserved to get to the merge, but then she would have had to get to the merge above somebody else. And there isn't really, I don't know what's wrong with me this season. Normally there's like, I gotta kind of be against this one player, you know, like I want to see the downfall of this one player. I don't really have that
yeah.
player this season, Jake. Like I'm actually enjoying everybody this season, but I do want to talk about that because I do agree with you. I feel like online it's so heavily, but I don't think it's a casual fan thing. It's an online community, Reddit, Twitter,
Definitely.
that type of thing where it's like, you know, if a men's alliance get together, we can't celebrate that. That's a bad thing that men dare to work together. Which I
Roxroy.
look at it as like, I look at that and I'm like, oh wow, what a great example for young men looking at the game to see that men can work together. They don't have to be fighting each other. You know, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that I want to see it every season. 100% don't want to see men dominate every single season, but you know, we've got a season here where 5 out of 6 have been women that have gone home. That's unheard of. Like it doesn't happen every season. I'm sure next season it's not going to happen. If it does, then I'll start looking at it and saying, well, maybe something's wrong here. But I don't think that people plan for that. They for
Hmm.
most of these players that have gone home, there is very legitimate reasons for why each one of them have gone home, and it's down to themselves, except for Moira. She's like the one person I will give
She's
the
the one.
exemption to
Yeah.
because what could she have done? It was the first
I
episode, you
don't
know.
know.
But
Yeah.
like, I just feel like some of these arguments are outplayed for me now. I've heard it too many times. In the beginning, I was the same as you. I felt it, and also was like, oh, you know, I want to see a woman win this thing, and I would still be happy. Like, if Carla wins this thing, man, like what a season this would be because she has played a phenomenal game. If Cassidy win this season, like I won't hold it against her. She's the kind of player that does win the new meta of Survivor. I wouldn't even be shocked if Cassidy wins it because I feel like she is playing that kind of Erica type of game right now.
Yes, I'm with you because um yeah, you got to look at the context. You can't just look at the results of like, you know, you see each of these vote offs, you know, except for Mariah. Um very legitimate reasons. Sorry, my dog.
You're good.
um you know, very legitimate reasons, each of them. And this is, you know, I kind of just thought about this, you know, like there's been 43 seasons. It's gonna happen sometimes. It's just gonna happen where
100%.
like, you know, there's a so and so percent chance, probably very low, that this would happen 5 of the first 6. But it's there. The probability is there. It exists, and it just happened to happen. And this is not something that's going to happen every season. It just happens to be this one, and that's in fact that makes me, you know, more interested because like that's what I love about Survivor is like anything can happen.
You don't want
You
to see
know,
the same thing play out every
no,
single season, in my
no,
mind.
absolutely not. Yeah,
Jay here says, yes, Cass even had a confessional like Erica early on about wanting to be like a sly fox who cuts people's throat and they don't see it coming. I think Cass is like we've spoken about it on this podcast many a times, Jake. What is the meta player? New age meta player is the woman, the female player. She's like the era between season 30 and season 40 was definitely, like you said, men dominated that era of Survivor. This new era have been 2 female winners in a row, 2 female players who played from behind the scenes. Who, like, I mean, Marianne was a little bit more out there. She was a lot more sparkly. I think Erica really is the closest comparison right now to Cass and what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
But I do think that Cass is a little bit more cutthroat than Erica. Like, I think she would slit your throat in a second, and I love that villainous side about her. Is there only one other woman still in the game outside of? No, two other women. So we've got Janine, who I actually do like, but I think she's in a lot of trouble right now. Janine is in so much trouble after losing. Like,
Actually,
what is her route forward?
I don't. It's so hard to say because like she is just in such a bad spot. Like it was like she came from a tribe where she was kind of already on the outs. Her and her one ally went home. Excuse me. But I actually like this episode. I kind of realized like I don't know. I just really like Janine.
I like her.
I don't know.
I think she's
a
great player.
Why. I don't know why this episode specifically. I was just like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm gonna be rooting for her from now on for some reason. Like
she's the underdog.
She's the underdog, and I just kind of liked her how she was like so much absurdity from Gabler, and she was just like putting up with it, and I was just like, girl, I do not envy you, like, because like if I were her, I'd be like, oh, for fuck's sake, what is happening? Why is Gabler telling Ryan right in front of us that I have an idol? Like, I would just be so done. But she is just like,
she stayed extremely calm through all of that pressure. Stayed extremely calm, pulled him aside, had conversations. I do like Janine. I've said this from the start. Janine, I think, has got some game in her. I was really worried for Janine that she was going to go, if you remember, before Ellie in that pre-merge section of the game, because we didn't see a lot of her and her confessionals from the beginning. She very slowly has emerged now in the last couple of episodes where she is finally starting to get me some points on the board, because she is one of my picks, because she's been talking a lot. Now, that could be a good or a bad thing. It could mean she's one of the next couple to go, because sometimes players get that little bit more of a presence before they are ultimately snuffed out of the game. But I do think she's a capable player. Now it's going to be interesting. Can she find a way to go back to the likes of an Owen and a Sammy and a Gabler? Does Gabler even want to work with her? Ellie did not blow the cover that Janine was actually the one who went through his bag. Gabler doesn't know that. If he knew that, I'd say there's no chance, but Gabler might still feel inclined to welcome her back into the Baka fold, and ultimately Baka sacrificing a number here. Was that the right decision? Now, we know that it was sort of Sammy who said, I need to take care of her right now because she knows that I spoke to Gabler, because Gabler outed that. He outed to Ali that Sammy is the one who told me this. Yep. So I feel like for Sammy, it probably was the right move, because if you've got one person there of Ali's capabilities and he's seen firsthand what she can do and how she strategizes, it's probably best to take her out than have her there as a loose risk that could come for you when you least expect it. But was that the right move for Baka as a whole? I don't know.
To be honest, like I can't get a freaking read on Owen. I just can't. I don't know what's like did he really I think he kind of mentioned I don't know what, was he super enthusiastic about voting out Ellie? I don't know. Sammy very clearly was like, she's got to go. Like she has knowledge that I don't want getting out about me, that, I'm kind of I was playing both sides. But for Owen, I just don't know. And for Gabler, I don't even know at this point. Like he did it so recklessly that I can't even tell you if the end result was good on its own. But I can tell you the way he went about it was bad. But I don't know, because Ellie probably wasn't gonna. Was she gonna target him? Probably not. So much chaos in this episode. Just
so much chaos. I was trying to look for this link that I saw on Edgic. And I can't remember exactly who. I think it's between 3 players right now who they think is the winner. But most people have got Sammy running away with it.
I believe it's Carla, Sammy, and Cassidy.
And Cody as well. I think Cody was 3rd. So it was. I think it was Sammy, Carla, and Cody. I think those are the people that they're most onto. I don't see Cody winning. I think Jesse. For me, Jesse is more of a potential winner than Cody in that trio.
Yeah. So I don't do Edgic, but like
I didn't follow it in depth. I just saw a Instagram thing pop up today where somebody's put up, this is the leaders on the Edgic board, which is interesting for those people who don't, like, I'm sure most people who listen to podcasts, they probably are very aware of what Edgic is. But if you're more of a casual fan and you just check this out because you like to see our rants, which is fine, Edgic is basically, there's this whole system where they've worked out different types of players, like over the top characters, under the radar characters, complex characters, middle of the road characters, and they put like negative or positive spins on their edit. And based on that, they predict by the end of the season who they think is going to win. I instinctively do that by reading the edit, but I don't really do it with the analytics behind it, which these guys do. A lot of the times they do get it wrong as well, which is always fun to see.
I mean, yeah, so that's what I was going to say is like I follow Edgic out of curiosity to see who they are looking at. And to be honest, it can be kind of spoilery sometimes because like they, in some seasons, they've been like very adamant about one person and you're like, but why? And then they end up winning and it's like, how'd you know? So that, but also like, yeah, in the past 2 seasons, they were pretty confident that like Marianne wasn't up there. Towards the end, they finally were like, okay, yeah, maybe she has a chance. And then by the Omar episode, they were like, she's winning. Yeah, it's Marianne. Yeah.
And that was the same journey that you and I went through, because I remember like a couple of episodes before the end, just before the move on Omar, I was like, for some of the reason Marianne keeps having these confessionals and we keep seeing her point of view, I feel like she could still win this thing. I don't know, it doesn't make sense, but I feel like she could still win it. And then when the Omar thing happened, we're like, okay, cool, that's how she wins the show, basically. But I think that Jay's got a great point here, but this is the new era. You can trust the edit. You can't trust the edit, especially after 41.
You're right. You can't trust it, but if you're gonna go buy it right now, I would probably go with Sammy. I think.
You reckon Sammy's got that based on the edit? He's strong. I think he's a top 3 candidate.
If I'm kind of incorporating both, like just looking at the gameplay and also the edit, like kind of combining them, then I would say Sammy. But if you're just looking at the edit, probably Carla.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Once Upon an Island, welcome to the live stream. Great to have you here. For those who are not aware, if you're listening to the audio version of this, Once Upon an Island also has a YouTube channel and does great Survivor content. I was lucky enough to collab with him when we did our Survivor rankings with Russell Muscle, Flynn Masters, and a few other YouTube channels. Go check it out on YouTube. Give him a subscription, even if you don't, in general, check too much. I'm sure most people that listen to podcasts also check video content out. It's normally a shorter format in any case. Once Upon an Island, I'm up late editing and our puffs crossed. That's awesome. We normally do it at this time, Once Upon an Island, to sort of fit in at the moment with my schedule more so than Jake's, and it kind of still works out in an okay time for Jake as well, since he's not in Eastern Standard Time, but this sort of works up a little bit better for me. I think Sammy's got a great spot. I still think that Jesse, I haven't lost focus on him. I still think that he is also saying the right things at the right times. He could just be that character that gets very close. But, he talked about the fact that prior to the merge, it was the gladiator, phase. You learn, you earn your stripes and then you get into the real arena when you get to the merge. They've constantly focused on him, even at the times when Vesey didn't really, in the last couple of episodes, they weren't like the center of the storyline. Somehow Jesse keeps popping in, even more consistently than Cody when it comes to the confessionals. Therefore, I think people are still missing a little bit on him.
Edgic is like completely done with Jesse. They're like, yeah, he's out. And
why?
I don't know. See, I don't know. I don't know enough about it. I know bits and pieces. I think everyone kind of has a sense of the edit of like they can see, why are they showing that and not, we hear like from people when they get voted out, like, oh yeah, there was this whole like storyline happening on the tribe, but they didn't show it. And so you have to wonder like, why didn't they show that? But they are showing like, with like Winners at War, they're showing like Tony gathering coconuts and papayas. Like, but then you hear like there was so much other stuff happening. It's like, there's a reason for that. And obviously it was
interesting. Interesting. So you're saying that the eject might be reading into more than just the actual episodes, but they're also reading into exit interviews and things like
I
that that's
don't
coming out.
I don't think Edgic is supposed to, the founder of Edgic. I don't think
Yeah.
he intended for that, but like I think they do, and I think people who analyze the edit do. Maybe they don't like do the like middle of the road complex personality stuff, but like people who analyze the edit, they'll do their extracurricular activities and see like
Well,
the exit interviews. Yeah.
on level of excitement right now, if you could choose someone to win this, and it would be an exciting season, I think Sammy would be one of those people because it's going to be a record that's going to get smashed for the youngest player ever. There would be this
Younger
whole
than me,
reveal at the
man.
end. I'm actually
Crazy.
not 22, 23. I'm actually 19, which would blow people's minds.
Yeah.
Carla would be an exciting win because I still think that based on what we've seen, like Coco, the next couple of votes might be Coco back to back going. I just think Baka and Vesey will find a way to work together and get those numbers because Noelle is going to be that glue between the likes of an Owen, for instance, and herself. We saw them talking in this episode. I think they'll find a way to work together. Noelle being the only other female player currently in the game, we saw very little of her this episode. I would be happy for her from a personal standpoint if she won the game, but the edit hasn't gotten me behind it to the point where I'm like, man, I wish she wins because she's got this great strategic gameplay that she's sort of, displaying in front of us right now.
I really liked her episode, the one where she got the steal a vote. Like that episode, I was like, okay, like yeah, like she's coming out and she like is showing like she's not just here to like become buddies with the other girl on the tribe and like like she she's a fan and she wants to win and she's playing she's like making cross tribal alliances. They were willing to give her an advantage, but then she went back into the shadows, and especially this episode too, where like so many people kind of had to share the spotlight.
Yeah. Jay here in the live says that the funny thing is that Jeff said in a podcast recently that there is no winner's edit in air quotations. While Jeff also said that Ben Driebergen is in his Mount Rushmore. So I would put those two together, and I think Jeff likes to poke at fans sometimes a little bit. He knows there's a winner's edit. He's being,
I
Jeff.
mean, it's kind of undeniable that there is.
Yeah,
like,
and I think they sometimes mask it better, and like again, like this is why it's so interesting that why do certain winners get better edits than others? Like why did Erica's edit? Like I still feel like this is the best thing, and I know we always go back to Erica, and people are probably like, why do you keep talking about Erica? Well, it's so fresh in my mind because it's a recent season, right? And I think that Erica, the production team did her a favor by editing her the way that they did, because if she comes back for a All-Star season or a Winners of War season, people will underestimate her because they didn't show much of her game.
True. Yeah, and then there's Tony, who are like, they showed every bit of craziness.
You can't come back ever. You can
never come back.
Well, we said that about Winners at War.
We said that about Winners at War. But yeah, with the whole Winners edit, I think what Jeff is trying to say is like there's no like blueprint that the editors are like, okay, so the winner, okay, who's the winner? Oh, it's this person. Okay, well they gotta have this and then this. It's not like there's no like instructions for the editors of like you have to do this and this and this. But it's an undeniable fact that like the editors know the results. They know every single placement, and they edit it accordingly.
They build a story.
That. They build a story, and so it's silly to say that they, to imply that, but to say, I think I would agree. I don't know if this is exactly what Jeff meant, but I would agree. The editors don't just say like, oh, blueprint, for the winner. That. Yeah.
It can't be that predictable. Like there has to be a certain bit of nuance to it, because otherwise it would be like Australian Survivor. Australian Survivor. Oh, this person's getting the winner edit. Oh, this person, like the last 2 seasons, easist winner to spot ever in the history of Survivor.
What was Pia's the smiling assassin?
Pia was okay. Pia's edit was okay. Like, I mean, it got to the point at the merge where I was like, I think she's gonna win it, but I didn't spot it like week 1, day 1, where with the last 2 winners, I spotted it like literally in the first week. I was like, okay, this person's winning and that person's winning. And I did not change my mind from the first week onwards.
it's just funny because, like, with Edgic, they pay attention to the small details, and with Australian Survivor, it's not very small. They're
No,
big.
it gets
They're
thrashed
big
down your
details.
throat. This
And then
person's winning, this person, and it's like three
so
people dominate the season. It's like,
yeah, exactly. So yes,
yeah,
I think that US is much better at
yeah. And then
editing.
South Africa is a complete scramble. Like no one
I
knows who's
watched.
going to win.
I don't know if people
I
care
feel
if
like
like
the editors, I feel like in
yeah
Survivor South Africa, and I know this is not true because I've spoken to Lidu, I kind of have an idea of how they work, but I kind of feel like they probably don't let the editors know who's going to win it by the end and just say, just edit it week by week. We'll give you footage week by week to like
yeah
edit it. And that's how they kind of like Big Brother, like if you watch Big
yes I
Brother,
was just about to say
it plays
yeah
live. So you don't get a winner's edit in Big Brother because they don't know who's going to win it because it's all happening week by week.
I was just about to mention Big Brother and how like that's the such a big difference from Survivor, and sometimes I really like that like because Edgic is like a little side activity to Survivor because there's not just the show, there's also the online community that you can talk to. There's so many seasons, there's so many like you can I think Once Upon an Island, or is it sorry, it's the Moranian review that does the what ifs, like what if the merge boot or something was immune or something, like, and he'll just come up, it's just fun. And
Yeah.
Edgic is another one of those fun little side things to Survivor. It's not just you watch the show, that's it. There's more,
Yeah.
and I really like that. Whereas Big Brother doesn't have it has the live feeds, but it doesn't have they edit it live, so they don't know who wins.
So let me tell you why at this point I'm enjoying this season more than last season, for instance. Survivor Season 42 started off with a bang. The pre-merge was so much fun. Really enjoyed it. But then we got to the merge and I kind of felt like Omar was like running away with it. Like Omar was like the biggest character, the biggest strategic force in the game. We all thought this guy's clearly winning, and then he didn't. But this season, I feel like there is at least one of those Omar type of characters in every single tribe that hit the merge. You've got Jesse, you've got Carla, and you also have at this stage Sammy, right? And they all are kind of running the strategic thought in the game, and we're being told a story around that. If you look at the merge here, Carla had her strategic thought about the fact that this may not be the merge. She had thought about having a conversation at the merge feast and getting all this information that she sat on. And again, she's very much playing in the shadows while she's holding on to her advantage, her idol, and her allies at the same time. And she kept everybody in her tribe in the game. Now,
Yeah.
Sammy obviously saw the warning signs. He knew that Ellie was starting to suspect him as someone that she couldn't trust, and he needed to make a gameplay move to become the main strategist within the Baka tribe, taking out the other strategists and Ellie, becoming the dominant force in the game. Jesse, at this point, very clearly recognized that Janine and Ellie, they were too close in the game and that they needed to split them up. And that is the reason why he started moving the Vessi tribe towards voting that way. So for me, it is at the moment going to be a clash between the heavyweights, Jesse, Sammy, and the likes of Carla. I think if I was a gambling man at this point, I don't know why people don't see Jesse as a potential threat in the game or potential to win this game. I've not checked the exit interview, so maybe there is stuff that's being omitted. I'm hoping not. I'm hoping I'm not spoiling it for myself by having this conversation with you at this stage, Jake. But I do think those, if I was a betting man, those are my three people at this point. And I mean, I've been horribly wrong for 2 seasons in a row now for Survivor, but they're the three
Yeah.
people I think that have got this thing in the bag.
That's a very good instinct, Chris. Especially when looking at it from like the factions, the three tribes. And the thing I love about this season right now, it's even. There's 4 from each tribe right now. We had that. We would have had that last season if it weren't for the hourglass. And then
Yes.
But with Jesse, I totally agree. Lest to not people forget, divorce papers were never signed between Dwight and Jesse. As far
They're
as
good.
we know, they're good. Their marriage is strong. No
I think Vessi is tight. I think they're like this. Like
Yeah.
Vessi feels like the tribe that's got the biggest chance of being the Taku tribe last season? What was the yeah.
And like Janine now is a free agent, and like I honestly think there is a chance
Ryan's
that,
a free agent. Who's going to scoop Ryan
free
up?
agent.
He spoke to the 3 guys from Vessi. Looked like he bonded. It could be a little bromance. Internet would
Mhm.
melt down if that happened. Can you imagine Ryan joining a little bromance there? Even though I
Yeah.
think Dwight would not turn his back on Noel in any case.
Yeah. I could honestly see Sammy and Owen potentially working with Janine, even though she has an idol. I think that like it was really Ellie that was the issue. And
Yeah.
honestly, I think Gabler does know that Janine was a part of the bag searching, but for some reason it was Ellie that he was so, and I think it's because like he felt close to her, so it was really bad. But he doesn't really seem to be that worried about Janine, So I think there's a chance that like they could, she could make something work again with Baka. Maybe that's wishful thinking on my part, but like uh, very excited to see where this goes because
Super excited. Super excited. It's been,
yeah,
honestly, I know, I don't know
yeah. I
why.
didn't feel
I don't
this
know.
way
Some
last
people,
season.
yeah, I feel like people are shocked by this because, and I don't do this for the people that have listened to this podcast. And I've covered many Survivor seasons now, and you can call me out if I've done it before. I don't think I have. I have not made bold statements like this is my favorite episode in a long time, or this is like, I think Survivor South Africa Return of the Outcasts, or maybe Immunity Island. Immunity Island, I was like, Survivor South Africa Immunity Island, I was like, man, this is the most fun I've had watching a season in a long time. And I still think, in my opinion, it's probably an unpopular opinion, Immunity Island was more fun to watch than Return of the Outcasts. But,
I haven't seen Return of the Outcasts yet, but I really
it
liked
was
Immunity
fun.
Island.
It was fun, but Immunity Island was more fun because it also had more loose players in there. Where Return of the Outcasts had so many people in there that were like game
Yeah.
bots and were just
When
like it was still entertaining, but the level of gameplay was ridiculous. But Immunity Island was just, I think it was just more fun. Like
when
there was a
I
lot more fun
yeah
moments.
when I got to the final two of Immunity Island, I was just laughing. I was just like, "What is this? Like,
What did I
these are
watch?
the two? Like, like because I don't know if anyone cares if I like say names, but like the guy who got
Yeah,
third place
yeah,
was just so fun, and then he was projected to win, and then he it was final two, so he was such a
yeah.
challenge beast, and then he somehow lost the final. It was just really good season. I really liked that season a lot. Yeah.
Hey Zuderman, welcome to the live stream. Said, hey, what point are we at with crying face emoji? I didn't know this was happening at the moment. I've been on Twitter Spaces. You know what? I've been really naughty, Jake, and I haven't been posting on Twitter in recent times when we go live. I will have to jump on Twitter next time to post that we're going live. I've been bad with that. Just work in general has been keeping me busy. But I will do that next time, Zuderman, just to catch you up. We're going to go into the draft pick. So it's pretty deep into our recap
Real quick,
to look at who's left in the teams. And we'll also have a few more chats about that and also the points. And then Jake, you've got your hand up. You're not in class. Say what you want to say.
Teacher Chris, can I please make a comment? Before we get into the draft, this is the last thing I'll say, unless you have some profound comments on this. At Tribal Council, do you think that Sammy's comment where he was like, the
absence of a big move.
The absence of the big move can be the right move and can be like the can be kind of a big move, And then like Jeff kind of like he kind of showed a bit of interest in it and was like, that's thought provoking, that's really good. Do you think that actually changed the outcome of Janine? Do you think that Janine was thinking,
interesting,
Sammy is saying that as a signal? Do you think this was going through my head?
I think he
yeah.
did. I think he knew what he was doing, and I do think he was speaking directly to Janine to prevent her, which is another level of gameplay as well from Sammy. Sammy's been impressive. Like the guy's been. That's why I would not be angry at him winning the season. I would love to see the youngest player ever win the show, but I would also feel very sad for Carla not to win because like Carla just. Carla's got my heart this season, man. Like she, just so unexpected. She's been playing a bloody good game, and I've got to give credit to Carla for how she's been carrying herself. But I do think that was definitely on purpose, and you could see Ellie's heart just sink when Janine didn't play the idol because Ellie read it correctly. She was like, that's why I said Ellie for me has got great instincts. I think she did ultimately get outplayed here by a very unpredictable entity in the game in Gabler, which you can't predict a player such as Gabler. It would be difficult to predict a player, like not even Sammy, who's got somewhat control over Gabler, has enough control over Gabler where he turned his back on Sammy, who was the one providing him information. Like, how do you do that? Like, that's just not logical to do that in that situation when Ellie confronted Sammy directly. Oh, sorry, Gabler directly. So for me, she couldn't have predicted it. I still think Ellie would make for a great returnee player.
I agree.
I know, Zuduman, you may not like her as much to see her come back, but I think that in a second attempt, she would do really, really well. Janine misread it. She's still got an idol in her pocket. Jay earlier said sometimes when an ally goes home, the person who was closest to them gets forgotten for a little bit. I think Janine still has heat on her back, though, Jake, because a lot of people know about her idol. So she's going to have to burn that probably at the next tribal council or the one after that. She's not going to be able to sit on it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think people know, like Ryan heard, who knows who he's going to tell, or if he'll even tell anyone, or, is he going to pull one of his classic Ryan moves where, he flips the game on its head with that. I don't know. But I think, it was smart by Janine to just, I think Ellie, she was a lost cause. It's just let her go. Janine was safe herself. Just take the immunity, keep the idol. You can use it next week where you could be in danger. But yeah, back to the Sammy thing. Like, I know he did that on purpose. I just 100%.
He's a good enough game player to do that. Yeah, like I don't doubt him. I don't doubt his level of gameplay is insane. Like, this guy comes back 10 years from now, 15 years from now, and is going to be an absolute beast. Like, he could be if he doesn't win it this time, he could win it in a return season. Like, he's a great level, but I think people would be so wary of him if he did come back. But he's also getting a modest edit compared to some of the other people on the show. Like, I don't feel like he's being over edited compared to some of the other characters on the show.
He's not really in line with male winners. Usually they're even more out there than this.
Like a Cody.
Which
is, I think, why a lot of people think Cody is a potential winner pick. Well, I think a lot of people are putting him in the top 3 for Edgic.
This episode. But one of the things that Edgic really gets fixated on, which I believe has kind of not been true always, is that merge episodes are really important for the winner. If they feel like the winner didn't, if they feel like a player didn't really get their due diligence in a merge episode, that can kind of be a disqualifier.
Like Cody got 2 confessionals in this last episode, and one of them was to say we're all pretending like we're having fun, but we all know we're going to slit each other's throats, and I'll partake in the the theater of it if I need to. It's kind of what his confessional was. I can't remember the second confessional he had. I think it was when he realized they were potentially coming for him, and he said, they're coming for me now. I got to turn my back and vote the other person out, type of thing. But yeah, he didn't have much. That's what I personally think Cody is the character of the season. I think Jesse has been consistent in the edit. He's consistently been telling us what he's thinking strategically. So for Zuduman, who's dropping in quite late, we did a really good analysis on some of the players we think are at the top right now, what Edgic is thinking, what we think about that. If you look back, rewind a little bit in this podcast, go back and listen to it, I think you'll enjoy that as well. One last thing, because we keep saying one last thing before we get into the point. But one person we haven't given credit to this episode that I want to give credit to this episode that I think had some great reads throughout it was James. We did give him a little bit of credit in the fact that he saw the puzzle before anybody else. He obviously wasn't in a position where he could clutch it out for them because he wasn't a puzzle builder, but he also, from the start, was very wary of Ellie, saw through her being non-committal in regards to giving a name. And even though he didn't completely find out on his own that he was the main target, he had some great reads as well. So James is a capable player still in the game as well. So maybe second to Carla for me. Cassidy, who knows? She could be Erica. Who knows? Ryan is the only person at this stage I'm willing to count out as a potential winner from Coco. And I will eat my words if he does win at the end of this season. All right, without further ado, let's get into our list of players that are still in the game. For the first time since the beginning of this game, we're going to be equal. Yeah, we're going to be equal in numbers at least. We don't know what the points look like. I'll tell you in a second what the points look like. But Ellie, who was your second overall person picked for the season, has fallen. And one thing I've noticed here, Jake, is that that's the first time that we've lost someone in our. Actually, no, you've lost two people. Two people in your top 4 picks have gone, or your top 3 picks, even we could say. I have not had a single person go from my top 4 picks yet. My top 4 picks are still in the game. It was Owen, Noel, James, and Cody. You have lost both Ali and Lindsay, who were part of your top 4 when the season started. So interesting, doesn't mean that much because we never know where things are going to go, but it also shows that initial instincts of who you went for and potentially how those players have been doing in the game. But for the first time since the beginning of the game, we're now equal at 6 players each. So I've still got in the game left at the moment Owen, Noel, James, Cody, Sammy, and Janine. You've got Jesse, Ryan, Gabler, Carla, Cassidy, and Dwight still left in the game. Who's your hopes on right now? We talked about a top 3 potentially consisting out of Jesse, Carla, and who was the other one? Sammy, as the potential. You've got 2 out of those 3. Are you seeing it the same way as me? Are you also thinking those are the 3 players? Or are you seeing it slightly different in regards to that? Because I think I've been the most vocal about those 3.
I think we're actually in for a Gabler sweep, which we no, no, I completely agree with you. Those are the 3. I think that.
So if we go slightly wider than that, so Zuduman, we're both in agreement. Our top 3 right now, looking at it, is Sammy, Jesse, and Carla. That's my top 3 as well. But if we had to add 2 more people into this, if we had to go a little bit wider, who's on the fringe of breaking into the top 5 for you, top 3 for you? It's tough. Like I feel like there's a gap. I would put just based on the edit and the level of I guess what we've seen from other players talking about this player. I think if Cody gets to the final, he potentially wins just being a likable guy. I think he's had a big edit. So I think Cody would probably be somewhere in the top 5 for me still. I, similar to you, Zuduman, still believe that Owen has got some chance, but I also am afraid that Owen could be someone that doesn't know how to, like he sees things, but I don't know if he can take lead and take control of his own destiny.
That's exactly.
So I feel like Cassidy, maybe. I'll go Cassidy. I'll go Cassidy as another person I think that could win.
I was going to choose her too. This is you're totally right. At the beginning, you said we've been on the same wavelength of things. I was literally going to say the exact same thing about Owen. Of like he has the reads, but he doesn't really do anything, and he hasn't really had a need to do anything. But I don't know if I can see him doing anything.
Like he's got an ability to move, bob and weave, and stay out of control throughout the game. But when he's going to be backed into a corner, does he have the skills to actually get out of it? That's my question. Because even in the first episode, when he was in danger, like I felt like he was begging more than like bringing anything concrete, and he was just lucky that they moved the target onto Mira because they had nothing, and they just kept him for the fact that he was a male and had some form of physical strength.
I think that the only thing that worries me about like Carla or Cassidy or even James, if we're widening it that much, is that it just seems like Coco's kind of the odd one out, and like it's like we got many hints to it this episode and the last of like that Baka and Vessi want to work together. Noelle was giving Baka the hints the episode that Lindsay went home, and she went to the island with, was it, I don't even remember who it was. Was it Jesse?
So who went to the island? Sorry, I missed your train of thought there.
Who did she go to? Noelle.
Which one? Noelle. Noelle went there with Owen and James.
Yes, Owen. Yes, so she has Owen, and like Owen was like very open to just let's do it, and
you've seen Owen and Noelle talk even at the merch. They showed us that like they were linking back up, where James was more iffy about the whole thing. So I don't know if he's connecting like Owen does. Owen's got the interpersonal skills and the social skills to make good connections, and Noelle could potentially be that person that works with him. I don't think anybody should be like, out of the people that are still left in the game, I don't think anybody should completely be counted out as someone that could potentially still win this game
Except for Ryan.
based off, except for Ryan, maybe. I think Ryan could even. I even think Ryan
maybe, I don't know,
like a long shot
or Gabler too. Like, who knows? I don't know.
Man, I don't know what it is. I'm getting soft with old age, Jake. I'm just really enjoying all these people.
Fabio?
Like, I really am. You know.
Well, because not even Fabio had like, where he just like went like, bull in a china shop, just like, telling, one thing that,
I think Gabler, I will count out. Like, Gabler's the only person who can't win.
I'll count him out.
Yeah.
Sorry, we keep saying one more thing, but I think that they showed this. We talked about it. Ellie and Janine discussed how Cody has an idol. I think Janine is going to use that, and I don't know what's going to come from it, but that's just very. This is the thing with Edgic again. Like, why did they show that? They already had the scene with Owen where they just reiterated that Cody had an idol. It didn't need to serve that purpose. So, and one of those people in the conversation got voted out. So only one person besides Jesse knows about it now. So yeah. I think, I don't know. I could honestly, is Janine's edit that different from Erica's at this point?
No, not at all. I don't think so. Like, Janine could still win this thing, 100%. 100% could still win this.
Like I said, like I was just,
and she was my last pick of the season as well.
Like,
she's a blue stock. She's a blue chip stock for me right now because she's doing decent. She's not the lowest. I can tell you this: she doesn't have the lowest points in my team. She doesn't have the lowest points. So let's talk about this because we've got the Agic. We've got the Agic.
Just go ahead,
right?
If you don't stop me now, Chris, I'll just keep on keeping on and just talking.
That's all good.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get into the points. Now, we know that Edgic has its view on the top three. We know that they're thinking it's Sammy, Jesse, and also potentially Carla that is sort of surfacing there. Oh, no, sorry, not Jesse, Cody. So Cody is in there with them. But what does our point system say? So for those that are new to it, we've got a point system that tracks a bunch of different things: confessionals, team challenge wins, individual wins, making the merge. By the way, I just remembered I haven't added making the merge to this, so I might have to do this live, which will not take me long because I'm up to date. Let me just do that on everybody. We're going to be equal in points, so it's not really going to change anything because we both have the same amount of people that actually made the merge here. So making the merge is 5 points, which I'm just adding on now, and I will share the spreadsheet at the end of it. There's also successful advantage plays, finding advantages. Votes against you is negative 0.5, which I think we need to make that more next season. And this has been a bit of a test thing for us because that will penalize players more for getting votes against them.
You're just mad that I didn't lose.
Well, it would have killed me. It would have killed me. I've had way more votes against my people than you, but I think that it should have more weight. And then runner-up gets 25 points, winner gets 50 points. There's a whole bunch of different points here that you potentially earn. Now, the top player for a very long time in this game, and I'm just going to talk about this because it's more exciting than doing the reveal on the point system between the two of us, because that hasn't changed, Jake. You're still in the lead. You've got 250.5 points. I've cracked the 200 points. I'm on 207.5, but you've really started to widen that lead between us. And a big reason for that this episode was that you had, out of the 6 players that won the challenge, I think you had like 5 of them, and I had 1 of them. So that made a huge difference in regards to you racking up some points there. You're also getting some key confessionals in the people that you had. So made a huge difference there. So so looking at that, all right. So looking at that, I had Noelle was the extra person who also gave me some points, but Janine was the only person in the actual team that got me points. But both of them, I even gave Noelle the points because she chose correctly who that team was going to be.
Yeah.
So she shared in the whole win. But the top players for this at this point, coming in at 3rd place overall for all the players, is none other than Carla. Carla's sitting on 38 points in total. Actually, is she might actually be a little bit higher. No, she is in 3rd place. So Carla's in 3rd place at 38 points. She's had 24 confessionals. She's had 2 challenge wins, which this was the challenge win for her as well in this episode. And she's found that idol. She's got the merge as well. Sitting at 38 points, Carla comes in at 3rd place. 2nd place so far is also in your team, 47 points. and that is going to be Jesse. Jesse's had 27 confessionals. He's had a bunch of challenge wins. He's made the merge, doing really well. The only thing he hasn't achieved yet is finding an advantage, but he's also got no votes against him in the game at this stage. The player that's continuing to kill it, but that lead is starting to slow down. At one point, this person had double the amount of points that everybody else had on this point system. Is still Cody. Cody is sitting at 50.5 points. At 31 confessionals, he's had the most confessionals in the game. He's also had quite a few challenge wins. He's made the merge, and he's found an advantage that he could still play. Those are the overalls in our teams. Yeah, let me share this spreadsheet with you. What do you think about the points and how these different players are doing? Are you surprised that you're still, like, I haven't been able to just close that gap on you. You just keep on widening it.
I'm shocked that that my lead is still so big. I thought it was gonna. What was it last episode, if you remember? Because I wasn't on the podcast.
I feel like it was like 30 something points last week between us still. Like there's been
So
like a
it got
30-point
bigger.
gap. So the gap got bigger. And I think a lot of that probably came down to the fact that, like I said, some of your people won. And then also confessionals. Like your guys are just, like, if you look at the confessionals, man, like Jesse's had 27, Mike's had 20, Carla's had 24. I feel like they're just overall, like, if you look at me, like only one player has had more than 20 confessionals, and that's Cody. Like Sammy as well. That's what I'm saying. Like, people think he potentially could be a winner, but he's not had the most over the top edit out of everybody, right? He's not getting all the confessionals, but he's getting key confessionals talking strategy. And that's why I said Janine has come from nowhere. She's like not my bottom player, man. She's like in the top 3 of the players that are getting me points right now. She's 35 points.
She's got as many confessionals as Sammy.
Exactly. Crazy. So, she was a slow starter.
Yeah, after seeing this, maybe we're just completely counting out Janine as a potential winner. Who knows? But I think I would agree with you that votes against, I think, probably need to be more.
Yeah, it would have killed me, but I just feel like it would hurt. It would hurt more. That, like, maybe it'll be a full point or something next time. And I'll continue to look at the points. I mean, this is quite new. I've thought about potentially making individual immunity wins more down the line. This season is going to be 5 points. Successful advantage plays seems like a very difficult thing to do these days. So I feel like that needs to be like maybe 10 points or something crazy like that, because it's not that high, but we'll keep it for this season the way we had it.
Yeah, I'm curious to see, like, because sometimes idle plays are like, it's a kind of a gray area if they're successful. Like, if there's a split vote and like they play it for, like, somebody plays it for somebody else, but then another person from their alliance goes home. Like, was that successful or was it not? So that'll be interesting to see if that comes into play. But overall, I really like this.
It's just more fun, right? Compared to what we did last season, we only had a look at who was still left in the game. We didn't have a point system in place to see who's actually doing well. But this time we can actually track to see who potentially is winning. Not just, like, I could have the winner. Sammy could win. It doesn't mean I win the season. Because even with 50 points that he would give me right now, if you had a Gabler as the runner-up for the season, you still would have a 25 point
and that made the drafting more fun, of, like, not just looking at, analyzing what their gameplay is going to be, but, like, because I picked Gabler and you picked Cody because we kind of
knew they were going to be characters.
They were going to be characters, yeah,
exactly. All right, let's have a couple of looks here at the live just before we start saying goodbye to everybody. Zudaman saying, I was saying I had high hopes for the season. Still have high hopes for the season right now, Zudaman. It is going really well. Also, can both of you all, after the draft, give your top 5s? We've done that. Christian Gell, hello, welcome back to the stream. Said only 4 women remaining in the game. Yes, that is. It is sad to see 4 women, but we had a bit of a chat about that in the beginning of the podcast, the beginning of the late. We went into depth about our opinion in regards to 5 out of 6 being females going home, and I think, do yourself a favor and go back there, because I don't feel like we could, lightning won't strike twice. I don't think we could articulate our thoughts on it as well if we did it a second time.
I feel like we did a good job the first time around of just explaining what we thought.
Yeah, Zuderman also saying definitely going to be an extremely interesting merge at this moment. I agree. 4-4-4 with the tribes. Some of the people in regards to like Ryan and Janine happy to probably jump ship at this point. Like we talked about Ryan wanting to do that and then having to go back home because just seeing that there was more crazy out there with some of the other alliances. He's like, I'd rather go with the crazy I know. Jay saying, yeah, no, Idol hasn't negated a vote in Survivor since Winners at War. Is that true?
Yeah, I
Wow.
believe so. 41 and 42 did not have. Did anyone even play an idol? I think Xander played his idol at the final 5 because that was the last time, but no one voted for him. Because
Talking about
Shan
that,
was
like
here. Yeah.
so the idols clearly with all these advantages that are in the game has become less relevant, and people know how to play around it and who's got it, and there's like this counter things that you can use like knowledge is power, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't spoken too much about shot in the dark and the fact that Ellie didn't even go for shot in the dark in this
I was
position.
shocked.
Should she have gone for it? She was so confident she was getting votes.
Absolutely.
I feel like if I was in her shoes, I'd play unless she was that confident Janine was going to play the idol on her, and she did look
But
shocked
even
when
then, it
Janine
doesn't
didn't.
matter
Yeah, play it.
because where was the scenario where her vote was gonna? Because we saw with Sydney in 41, her actually using the shot in the dark screwed her over because her vote could have, I believe, tied it. So her losing her vote, but I think Ellie knew, or at least thought, that like doesn't matter if I have my vote. It's like I'm in danger and I need some sort of protection. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm curious
so shocked.
once Ellie has an interview. I'm curious to see like if she was confident that Janine was going to play for her. If she was surprised,
I feel like we need
they
to
had
do
a
like
chat.
a live bet, like I don't know what's at stake for this, but
Yeah,
but just like for the fun of it, let's
yeah.
say do you think that shot in the dark will be played before it gets cancelled in the show? Now, actually, I feel like they'll keep it on until it gets cancelled. But do you think Shot in the Dark, we get to see Shot in the Dark successfully in the next 3 seasons or not?
You know what? I'm gonna make a bold prediction. I think that if they don't, they're gonna change the odds if it's not played correctly in the next 2 seasons, or if
Make it more
no one's
likely?
playing it. Yeah, make it more likely. Or just like kind of just switch it up, like fine tune it somehow. If because we're kind of seeing like we saw in 41, one person played it and it screwed them over. So then everyone was like, it's not all good with this thing, like, and it kind of, I don't know.
Shout out to
So
Sydney. Shout out to Sydney for like
we're just
actually
playing it.
playing it.
But then we saw 42 where Zach and Mariah played it, and then Swati also played it, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we saw it much more, but it was only the pre-merge. It just doesn't seem like it's very relevant in the post-merge.
Jay says people said that they sometimes forget that they have Shot in the Dark, and I agree. I mean, I forget as an audience person that it even exists because it's such a non-entity currently in Survivor. Mary, welcome to the stream. We are both. Well, I can only speak for myself. I'm doing well. Jake, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Yeah.
We're in almost an hour and a half. This has been one of the longer recaps we've done, but
For good reason.
so much quality in this episode. Yeah. Definitely worth for you to go back and listen to the podcast as a whole, because this was my favorite episode of Survivor of the new era, maybe even one of my favorite episodes in a very, very long time of Survivor.
Chris,
I really enjoyed it.
I think I'm gonna have to disagree with you and say that the Shan Boo episode was that was a good one. That was a
satisfying one as well. Yeah, because she fell from grace. But I don't know what it is. I'm just really enjoying this season. I'm high on it.
Yeah.
So wait, do you guys think the advantage in the preview for the next episode is the knowledge is power? I didn't see the preview for the next one. Did you see that?
Yeah, so there's actually there's an advantage underneath the shelter.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, I did see it. I don't think it's the knowledge is power. Imagine them trying to like get it back in again. It's like, oh no,
Carla's gonna be like, what the hell? I just got rid of this thing. Yeah,
that would be so bad. I hope it's not. I really don't want to see the knowledge is power again.
They're like, do you think that they're pissed that like both times or all three times it's been completely crapped on, and like, they
Yeah,
just was not used correctly. I don't know. Do
yeah.
you think that maybe they're just stuck on this idea of like stealing somebody's idol? Maybe they watch Champions, South Africa Champions, and were like, we
I
need to
don't know. I
implement
don't
that.
know. And
I'm
it
just
was
kidding.
just
Yeah.
not. Yeah, I'm just not a fan. I don't like it. It's too powerful. Like, just let's get knowledge is power out of the game. Like, I don't even want to. Don't put that bad juju out there, Jay. Is what I'm saying. Christian is saying, do you
Yeah.
think a female is going to be eliminated next? I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. I think that the odds are in favor of a man going next. But who is the
The
most
odds
likely
are in
person?
favor. Yeah.
But who's the most likely person to go next? I mean, it's hard to tell at this stage. Like Gabler kind of made a little bit of a target of himself. Could be easy to say, well, Gabler is too noisy. We might want to target him. But I still feel like someone in Coco. I just feel like
Yeah.
Coco
Hmm.
is like the stepchild in this whole relationship. We haven't seen much character building around that tribe coming into the merge. I could be wrong. If someone from Coco doesn't go next, then Carla's winning this thing. It's really a case of which one of the three tribes are gonna dominate in the next couple of episodes and have their numbers. If Coco takes the lead, Carla's winning. If Vesey takes the lead, then it's either Jesse or Cody. But
That's the
I'm
pattern
kind of
we've
leaning
seen.
towards Jesse. Yeah,
Yeah. That's the pattern
and
we've seen with Luvu, the Blue Tribe in 41. Erica, they dominated the merge. It was like they were like 4 out of the top 6.
yeah,
Same exact numbers for the top 6 in 42. Taku and then Marianne. So there's patterns. People, Edgic is gonna be all over that. They love their patterns.
yep, yep. Jay says people said that they sometimes. I already read that one. Christian says female players are going to be too aggressive this season, or is too aggressive this season. I feel like you're right. Some of them are playing aggressive, but I also think there's just like missteps. Like Lindsay, like we kind of went into this a little bit. So if any of you go back to where we spoke about why we
Yeah,
think the
I
female
would
players
say I would
lost,
say
I feel like
aggressive.
there's a reason.
Yeah,
There's a
I
reason
would
for each one of them.
I would say aggressive is maybe not the right term of like.
Yeah,
Maybe I would say you could say that for
sloppy. There was some
Ellie,
sloppy play.
sloppy, paranoid for
Yeah.
definitely Ellie and Lindsay, and then just
Yeah, Janine was kind of in a bad spot, similar to because she didn't see Cody like flanking
I
her,
mean Justine.
and sorry, Justine. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Justine didn't see the flanking
She
of
just
Cody,
she just
and
made
then
some comments
Mariah and
that
Justine. I
yeah,
feel bad for both of them. I feel like they could have been capable players, but they just got sniped. And then Lindsay played badly.
NECA was just not good in the
Neko wasn't good
challenges.
at the
Yeah,
challenges. Yeah, so it's just a series of unfortunate events that got us to the point
yeah.
that we're at. Mary's saying, "Do we feel three tribes screw women?" I don't say. I don't. Rudy, Zane, Rob, Garrett, David, Darnell say hi about that. Do we feel that the three tribes screw women? I don't know. Like, I mean, did we see women go? Like, I feel like in the
So,
previous seasons we didn't necessarily see women go.
I mean, if you look back at the 3 tribe seasons, I believe it actually favors women. All Stars, Amber won. Philippines, Denise won. Um,
Mm.
yeah,
Well,
Korong, Michelle,
Erica won 41,
Erica,
Marianne won
and
42.
Marianne won. So
So
yeah,
females have dominated the winnings in the
yeah.
three tribes seasons. It's
I think
good
the
memory
only
there.
one. I think the only one is Worlds Apart,
Mm,
where a man won. So
yeah.
yeah,
That's an interesting observation. Good memory there as well. I wouldn't have been able to pull it out as quickly, but I just, again, I think that it's just been a series of unfortunate events, and people are trying to see more into this than what there potentially is.
you
It
just got to
really
look at the
sucks to see it.
context.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really sucks to see that it's happened, but it's going to happen because there's been 43 seasons of Survivor. Next season, it may be the other way around. Now, if we see that trend continue and women are consistently being voted out or consistently this, then I would jump on the train as well. Like we said earlier, between seasons 30 and season 40, we didn't see enough females win. So that was clearly an era of
Hmm.
Survivor that really didn't favor female players, where I feel like the new age has definitely favored them a little bit more.
Yeah.
Tony and Kage-yan as well was obviously a
Yeah.
three
That's
tribe
another
as
one.
well.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Also, just curious, should it be 11 players at merge with 8 jury members? I think Jake is in favor of that.
I am. That's a good point because there's still 12. Do you think that they're going to do another vote out where they don't make the jury? Or do you think the jury is going to start next episode.
How many people? 12 right now. So if there's a
12.
final 3, it will be 9 players. So that could theoretically be a draw. But
A
would they
3H,
care about it?
2-3.
Yeah, but would
You know,
they
it's
care? Because
funny.
they could do. Oh no, they couldn't. They couldn't do a split.
It's
Yeah,
funny
interesting.
because you look back at a lot of Final 3 seasons have actually had 9 jury members, and I am so curious to know if they ever thought about that and what their
Fire.
plan would have been. Fire.
You make fire for the win. Like,
Or
Jeff
maybe
like,
they're
we can
just
fix
like,
anything with a fire making challenge.
Yeah, Jeff's immediate answer. No, but like, what would be the answer to that? Or do you think the producers were just like, that's never going to happen? There's never going to be 3 good enough.
Do you know what I want to see?
I don't know.
Do you know what I want to see? I want to see a quiz about the players that they played with. You know, we haven't seen that for a while. Like, who's got a child by the name of Debbie, who is 16 years old, going to this high school there, you know, and see who actually paid attention to the social game and know the people that they played with. And the person who knows that the best, they should win it. That's what I want to see if that comes down. But I don't want to see a draw. The last thing I want to see is these 3 players have become the sole survivor. No, I don't want to see that.
My. If that happens, I'd be so mad. Oh my
We're
God.
not football. We're not soccer fans, okay? We don't want to see draws.
Maybe they would do like a rock draw of like the one person gets removed and goes on the jury, and then they re-vote, because then 9, that would make 10 jury members. So then
one of the suggestions I gave
again.
to, just while you bring this up, one of the suggestions I gave to Leroux Botha when we caught up, who's the executive producer for Survivor South Africa. I had the fortune of like the ability to meet him when I went for the after party for Survivor South Africa this season. I had a chat with him and I said to him, next time, instead of like eliminating a player from the jury because they've got too much in there, why don't we bring in a vote nullifier to the final tribal council? So somebody gets an advantage and they nullify a jury member's vote. So that person doesn't get sent away. They still get the full experience. They still get to go to the final tribal council.
Yeah.
And then there's this big reveal where everybody is voting, and then even the jury member gets blindsided after being voted out of the game. And they're like, whoa, Jeff, before we read the final votes, I got this little parchment here that says that I have the ability to nullify one of the jury members' votes, and I will now nullify Jake's vote because I know he's best friends with Richard. You know, that type of thing. I think it would be a cool TV moment if you could, like, after the game, still nullify a jury vote.
That's way better than voting off a jury member, because, you always feel bad for them.
It sucks. That happened to Vanner. You bad. Like, he was like the player of his season, and then he gets like, oh no, sorry, you're not going to be a part of the end.
No discussion in the final tribal. Or what was her name?
Oh, there's been a few people. Like, I always remember, was it
Tara? No. Tessa.
Tessa, yes.
Yeah, she was a big player too, and she got removed.
What about Aubrey's friend? What was his name? In the Korong season that got Neil got as well. Neil also a great player that season. Ends up getting screwed by that twist. So I don't mind
that get voted out. He got medically evacuated. It's just unfortunate. That's such a better idea for them to have us to like be in the discussion, actually cast a vote.
Feel like they still had a participation, and then it just gets nullified at the end. That's a better way of using the nullifier.
That one night where they're just like, everyone is heading off. Oh, we're going to final tribal council, and then
he gets pulled on the shoulder. Neil, sorry, you're not a part of this. You gotta catch a plane back home. That sucks, man. It sucks. All right, I think we're all out of it. We went on for a little bit longer than what we expected here, but thank you so much for everybody that jumped in the live and took part on the conversation. For those that are jumping in late and didn't see this live, we love you too. Please consider subscribing to the channel. It does help with the growth of the channel. Thank you so much for everybody that did so in the last week. Consider liking, consider commenting on the video. All of those things help with the YouTube algorithm. And even those that listen to this later on Spotify or Apple or Google or all the other places that we have our podcast, please consider jumping on the YouTube channel and supporting us in that way as well. Thank you so much, guys, for this, and we will catch you guys next week as we talk about episode 7. Good night. Bye.
Bye.